Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rise and Grind with 72 the Architect, aka Jason B, and a live recording on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter Spaces, as well as Clubhouse. Today, we're going to talk about social impacts. Are we really focusing on the best journeys that we can have and making impacts along the way to make a better place for all of us and a better mindset? We're going to talk all about that here in just a moment. Stay tuned. Hey, everybody. So today I wanted to relook at and evaluate my channel and how I talk about things, what I'm really trying to make a point for or make social change. And earlier this week, I had talked to a friend who talked about, her whole premise of what she does, how she talks about her content is making social impacts. And it was so simple and so easy of a subject matter. Do we really think about it? Or we're too busy trying to specialize and niche it down. Well, today we're going to talk about social impacts, the new journey, and that's what this episode's titled. Originally, I had it scheduled for this last Wednesday, but for whatever reason, the transmission didn't go through, but we're here to make the content nonetheless. So, all along, I've been talking about, hey, how to start your morning, how to look at some things, but is it really making a social impact? I've also been involved in some social audio spaces and platforms and what do you call it? Apps, and where it's taken me, who I've learned from, and how I've collaborated by, or with. And that's something that has been really, really important to me. But as I upgrade my consciousness, as I upgrade the message, how I'm evaluating what I'm delivering, uh, you know, what I want to deliver, I I kind of got into a little bit of a rut, a creator's rut. I'm like, what could I really create without, being inorganic, unauthentic, so on and so forth, right? And I think that's something that we really need to take in consideration of how we do it and where we do it and what capacity. And in the last few days, I have seen the way that people can act with each other. People want to give plenty of advice. They want to talk about how to live. But when it comes down to measuring the mark, measuring the scale, so to speak, are we really looking at it adequately with the best of our ability? And when I was reading the Daily Stoic yesterday, um, Ryan used a clip out of Epictetus's Discourse 4.6.34. He says, ask yourself the following first thing in the morning. What am I lacking in attaining freedom from passion? These are a few questions. What for tranquility? What am I? A mere body, an estate holder, a reputation? None of these things. What then? Rational being? But he also goes on to say, what then is demanded of me? Meditate on your actions. How did I steer away from serenity? And what did I do that was unfriendly, unsocial, and uncaring? And the last question he says, what did I fail to do in all these things? Now, these are daily questions you can ask. And I am definitely someone who thinks about, did I do it right? And I think we all ask, do we do it right? But along the journey of when you're trying to get to, am I doing it right? Are you understanding that who it impacts, how you share with your kids, with your friends, your family, all these amazing people, and even your colleagues and your clients? Am I making the right moves? We question, we look, we compare, we contrast. But is it making a is it making a social impact? A lot of times it's not. I'm going to say. But what does? And that is your stewardship, how you use your diplomacy in making decisions, how you use your words. Can you be verifiable? Those kinds of things. People want to collect receipts before they're due. They want to know value without risk. But that's the thing. Life is a risk constantly. I read great old men and I review their works constantly, every day without fail. And I'm not saying they're always right, but they get me to think and they get me to explore brand new ideas. So, as we're going along in this journey, I want you to really take hold of your presence right now and think, how much time do I really have to watch 72's podcast or YouTube? How much time do I really have to listen? Is there really a hidden gem that he's going to uncover that's really going to make a big difference in my life? And I think that's what we do a lot of times. Many of us have created podcasts in the last few years. We were bored or we were pinned up in the house. There was some kind of illness, there was some kind of thing that definitely affected our attention, right? And when we look at our attention span, when we look at what's really the point, right? What's really the point? And in the meantime, I've watched in the last 20 years, 23 years, I'd say, I've watched in the last 23 years of not being afraid of or understanding that risk is a part of the game and just go for it anyways, to let me get coached, let me go check. But while I'm doing it, am I losing a sense of myself? These are deep internal questions, and some of you might not be prepared. But what can we do? How can we treat each other better? How can we make a difference in our daily lives? Many people have peddled the fear of that they're worried about technology taking out their positions. We can't ignore that, like this last week, that Google laid off 10,000 workers or contractors. I don't know. I don't know the full details. I'm not certain on that. But if 10,000 people are out of work, that's really a shame. That's a big thud, depending on where in the world they're employed. Just the numbers. Numbers represent people. So if I'm going to do anything on today, especially today, usually normally if I did an episode, it'd be Sunday brunch, but this is not a brunch kind of an episode. This is just forward thinking. This is just an opportunity for you to discover the possibilities. So ask yourself, what social impacts are you making? Do people know you by your reputation? Do they know you by your good works? What do they actually know you by? Or are you just kind of a bunch of hot air? Well, since last April of 2022, I've had to go through a lot of impacts. I've had to sit quiet, patient, like I'm trying to deal with the issues of having a teenager and her rejecting her father, you know, even to the extent of accusing things that are completely untrue. But see, all through this journey, I had to understand of what was I lacking, what was not being present, where's the need, you know? And no matter what happens in the courts and what happens in real life, I can say I'm learning from this lesson. And I share my lessons openly at times and sometimes discreetly, sometimes not at all. Sometimes the lesson needs to be, matured, practiced, trusted, tribulated so that I can appreciate the knowledge. And there were a few things that I had learned this morning or just got reminded, what is the purpose of you reading? To study, to learn, to make an addition? Did you read just one book? Oh, yeah, it was great. It made a big impact. But how much of that percentage of those books that you've read are in your daily life? Probably not a lot. And that's why I kind of agree with what Ryan Holiday would say. He's like, I trust the old writers, tried and tribulated as a testament of time before I trust new writers. And there are plenty of them out there, and they're amazing people. But are they making social impacts through the test of time? And as I make these YouTubes and I make these audio recordings, one thing that I understand is that I'm hoping that when I speak, these will I will actually take it beyond hope. I'll probably publish a lot of my episodes written wise and have them there for maybe my kids, maybe my great grandkids or my grandkids to great grandkids, my ancestral kids, right? That this man who's speaking, what did they face during these times? We have lots of conveniences that make our life so easy, but how does it make a social impact? It makes a social impact when you start seeing in people repeat the words that you've said, do actions that you've done. And that's why we have teachers and mentors. They teach a man or a woman's perspective on living and processing life. So from here on out, Rise and Grind, as I know it, will involve stoicism, will involve philosophy, and social change, but making good social impacts, not being offended so easily, taking time to listen, being an asset to your partners, and so on and so forth. Um, Giving people the grace to come in and let go. And it's not so easy. Even I am tested personally and professionally, but whom do I, and what do I need to keep prisoner? What do I need to, um, you know, have as mine? What is mine? And last night was a careful reminder when I was in a digital audio space about the phrase of mob rule. What do I mean by that? That means a group of people who've decided on hearsay, who want to add their 2 cents and judge somebody. Instead of making a discretionary action and trying to figure things out, people went into a public forum. And what did that do to people? It angered people. It upset them. They're like, you should not do these things. You should not be acting this way. What was the social impact of that talk? It showed me who they were, showed me exactly how I want to do business or not, how I want to share stages and conversations. But it also reminded me that my silence as well as my solitude are very valuable to me. And that my character coming out of this and treating people fairly as possible as I can without over biasing seeing things. And I do have biases, I do have preferences, I do have privileges, but understanding that everyone has some kind of asset, but not all of them are qualified at the moments that I'm living. And I don't need to disqualify. I don't need to figure out if you're a fraud or a fake or a phony. I've been a fake and a phony at times in my life. I've lied. I'm no better than anybody else, but I've also told the truth. I've also stand true to my character. I've shaped my character. And those social impacts, when people talk about me, a lot of times, from what I'm hearing, people are talking good about me. Hey, you made a difference in my life. You were someone who listened to me in the moments that I needed to. And that's a social impact. Look at even our phones. We look at the way that we use our cell phones as portals and connection points. And somehow we've kind of just lost personal connection with each other. And if you're going to willing to take that time and take it gracefully, that's right, gracefully, and you flourish and you spread your seeds, you grow crops, you take for what you need, you share with others in need. And that's it. That really is to me what the golden rule represents. Treat others as you'd want to be treated. And I've sometimes treated people pretty bad, but then I've also treated people pretty good. And as I'm, 50 years old and I'm evolving, I understand that it's all up to me how I take it. So, and that's, there were some points and notes that I took, you know, when you're putting in the work, training, focusing, practicing, all that study time, it makes a difference, but it has to be rehearsed. And I think that a lot of us want the fast and easy button. We're like, you remember was the um Office Max, the easy button, changes life altogether in instances, but we don't have that. We can take life a lot easier by not promoting an oversensitivity or overjudgment. You can exit out of talks. You don't have to pay attention to what people do. You can always pay attention best yourself, but be willing to look sometimes clueless, even to the point of stupidity. Because you know what? When those who act like they know and they fall on their own swords, what do they have to gain and lose? They have a lot to lose. But when you're listening and you just weigh out and you focus on what you control. What do you control? Your presence, your mind, your word. That's it, really. After that, everything's optional. Anyhow, well, this is the first episode about social impact. So I'll be doing segments of a social impact. I'll talk about maybe a celebrity or where we can look at their behavior and learn from it and how we can make additions. And I'll talk about philosophy and all that great stuff. So if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube or Facebook, maybe even Clubhouse, take the opportunity to give me a follow. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment, especially on my YouTube. You can find Rise and Grind with 72 the Architect, and it's all labeled. Anyhow, I hope that you all had a great weekend so far. I'm going to go enjoy some amazing time with my family. We may be going to the snow. We may be going, I don't know. We had plans, but it kind of got jumbled up. Anyhow, but it's Sunday. And I encourage everyone to enjoy their Sunday to be the absolute best in your week and something to go ahead with. Anyhow, hope you all take care. Have a great one.